It's a setup. You're right. And so this morning, I wanted to talk about a part of this plan that's hard to get around, which is evidence. Evidence is an interesting thing because everybody always has access to the evidence. Evidence cannot be bought. Evidence cannot be coerced. Evidence can't be manipulated. Even if somebody attempts to tamper with the evidence, if you dig deep enough, you can always find the evidence in its original state. The evidence will always tell the story. The evidence will always explain what's going on, what's happened, and how we got here. For those of you who like to watch the CSI and all of those wonderful television shows, you know that no matter what else is going on in the show, that it always comes down to the evidence. That if you have evidence, then the story is always going to come out. If you have evidence, you can always get to the truth if you have evidence. And so this morning we've got to figure out, if we want to get away with the murder of Jesus, how do we get rid of the evidence? How do you get rid of the evidence of Jesus in your life? Oh, you know, Pastor, I cuss a little bit when I'm angry instead of calling on the Lord. How do you get rid of the evidence of Jesus in your life? Oh, you know, Pastor, when things are going wrong, I start worrying and crying and complaining instead of going into my prayer closet. How do you get rid of the evidence in your life? Oh, you know, Pastor, and instead of trusting in the Lord when things go wrong, I pick up the phone and call on everybody else. How do you get rid of the evidence? When God has healed me, blessed me, moved in my life, I keep a low profile. I don't tell nobody. I keep it to myself. How do you get rid of evidence? I keep acting the way I used to act, even though I know God is doing a brand new thing in my life. How do you get rid of the evidence? Even when I know that God has delivered me, I continue to go back to the lifestyles that I used to live, even though I know God pulled me out of there, spared my life, and made me better. How do you get rid of evidence? I continue in the bad habits, even though the desire is gone, but it just was so comfortable for me, and so I keep acting, doing, and living the way. How do you get rid of the evidence? Each and every day we wake up out of our beds trying to figure out how to get the evidence. Shove it under the bed. How to get rid of the evidence. Put it in the closet. How to get rid of the evidence. Anybody tried to get rid of some evidence? Anybody got some stuff that you know God has done for you that you've pushed to the side, you don't talk about, you don't share with anybody? Anybody tried to get rid of the evidence? Maybe God had done something in your life. He's shown up in your life. He's delivered you. He's healed you. He's brought you out of something, yet you keep on acting as if you are still in those situations, still oppressed, still beaten down, still battered, still going through hardship. Anybody ever tried to get rid of the evidence of God's grace, evidence of God's mercy? Maybe you've gotten rid of evidence by judging and treating other people who are in similar situations that you used to be like you're better than them. Is there anybody this morning who will testify that even though God brought me out of drug addiction, even though God stopped me from being a liar, don't let me see a drug addict or a liar, because I'm going to talk bad about them, I'm going to shame them, I'm going to look. If you ever tried to get rid of the evidence? In this morning's text, Lazarus throws a party for Jesus. Tell everybody, Lazarus threw a party.
Lazarus threw a party.
It's interesting. Lazarus throws a party. You can imagine he has very good reason. He used to be dead. Now he's not dead no more. Maybe some of us need to throw a party for Jesus. Maybe if we look at the situations that we used to be in, and then we look at our lives today, I wish somebody would throw a party for Jesus. Maybe we look at our children's circumstances, and now our children are doing better. I wish somebody would throw a party for Jesus. Maybe our health was not good, but now I'm healed. I used to be blind, but now I can see. I wish somebody would throw a party for Jesus. Lazarus understood the importance of being grateful. Lazarus understood that if it had not Jesus? Have you thrown a party for Jesus recently? Maybe you got a new job. Did you throw a party for Jesus? Maybe the doctor report came back better than you thought it should. Did you throw a party for Jesus? Maybe that lawyer who you thought wasn't going to be able to get you off was able to get you off. Has you thrown a party for? Maybe that bill you thought could not be paid finally got paid. Could you throw a party for Jesus? This is an interesting party because it happens about 6 days before Passover. Sometimes you got to throw a party when you know that the mess is about to come. Lazarus throws this party, invites Jesus, and this is just before his triumphant entry. So we about a week out. Everybody, we a week out. Tell somebody we're a week out. Tell somebody we're right on time. So a week before Passover, Lazarus throws this party for Jesus because Jesus raised him from the dead and did something good in his life that he did not deserve or did not expect and could not do for himself. Hello, somebody. And while he throws the party, the people that are around hear that Lazarus is throwing a party and that Jesus is in the house. The interesting thing about this is some of the folks are looky-loos and just had heard about what Jesus had done for Lazarus, but another portion of the people were there when he raised Lazarus from the dead. Here's the challenge with evidence. See, when you have a witness, everybody has to agree about their word for it. Like the young man last week, even the folks who knew that he was blind and now could see that he could see, they scratched their head and doubted. I don't know if that's him. Let's ask his mama and his daddy. I'm not sure if he really was blind. Maybe he wasn't blind. Maybe he had been tricking us. But everybody that was there who saw Lazarus knew absolutely that Lazarus was dead. They seen him wrapped up in the clothes. They seen him in the tomb. They saw Jesus walk up. They heard Jesus call Lazarus out. And then they saw Lazarus walk out of the tomb. It's something about evidence that even if nobody believes what you say, the evidence everybody can see with their own eyes. There's something about evidence that even if folks disagree with the details, the evidence never lies.
Yes, sir.
And so the people had come not just to glorify God, not just to celebrate Jesus, but because they wanted to come and see if this Lazarus thing was real. They came to investigate the evidence. Tell somebody you've got to investigate the evidence. There are some people in our lives that are looking at us trying to figure out if the evidence is real. There are some people in our families that are looking at our lives, looking at how we walk, looking at how we talk, and trying to figure out, is the evidence real? Can it be verified? Did God really change you? Did God really raise you from the dead? Can you imagine if they came to Lazarus' house and he still was wrapped in his dead clothes? Can you imagine if Lazarus came and he still was laying up with his eyes closed and not breathing when folks were trying to find out if Jesus really had in fact done anything for him? This morning I want to suggest that some of us might still be acting like a dead Lazarus. The people have heard about what God did for us, seen what God did for us, talked about what God did for us, but then when they come to see us, they can't find no evidence of how good Jesus is. Then when they come talk to us, they can't find no evidence of how far God brought us through. Even though God has moved in our life, we still just as angry as we used to be. Even though God moved in our life, we still treat people just as bad as we used to treat them. Even though God moved in our life, we still act like we ain't got no faith, ain't got no hope, ain't got no joy, ain't got no trust. Even though the people have come looking for the evidence, we're just laying there like Lazarus was still dead. Can you imagine? Can you imagine folks coming and looking at your life and trying to figure out, in fact, if Jesus had been there?
Preacher.
We always say, oh, we might be the only Jesus that somebody meets.
That's right.
Well, is it the Jesus before the resurrection or after? Is it the Jesus before Lazarus in the tomb or when Lazarus walks out? What I mean to say is, are we still making people look for the Jesus of hope or the Jesus of the resurrection? Are we still leaving people with questions about whether Jesus is real, about whether Jesus is able, about whether Jesus can deliver, about whether Jesus will come through? Or can people look at our lives and say, based on your life, I know that Jesus is real because I saw you when you were in your bedclothes. Based on your life, I know that Jesus It's a setup. You're right.